Hello, welcome to another Gundam Arsenal Base video. This is the first video in the series on how to play Arsenal Base. So if you're new to the game, or maybe you're just visiting Japan and you want to jump in, try the game, I hope this might help you a little bit. Take a look, this episode is going to be about understanding the cards. So there are two different types of cards. There's the MS Mobile Suit cards and the PL Pilot cards. In this game, you build a deck of 10 cards, 5 mobile suits, and 5 pilots that go together with them, 1 pilot per suit, and you create a unit and you use those units to go and attack and defend in the game. So again, this episode is going to be about understanding the cards, so let's break down each of the cards and what they do. First, we're going to take a look at the mobile suit. So, at the top here, number 1, we have the cost. As you can see here, the Mighty Strike Freedom. This version at least costs 7. This is how much it costs to bring it out onto the field. But as I said, there are units. They are pilot and a mobile suit combined. So the actual cost to bring it to the field will be the cost of the mobile suit plus the cost of whatever pilot you put with it. So it's going to cost you at least 8 because the cheapest pilot is going to be 1. So it's going to cost you at least 8 points to bring this out onto the field. 7 plus whatever the pilot is. Number 2, this is the faction icon, so you can see what faction it belongs to. It doesn't have a lot of utility right here on front, but just so you know at a glance. Number 3, this also is not very important for the most part. This is the type of unit it is, or the type of mobile suit it is. This one, for example, is a long-range attacker. There's short-range attackers and also mobility type suits. This isn't really that important because you pretty much can get this information by looking at the stats down below. Jumping down below, number 4, this is the rarity type. As you can see, this is a U, which is ultimate rare. Those are typically the strongest versions of the cards in the game. So the U rares, the ultimate rares for the mobile suits, and the U rares for the pilots will be probably the most potent version of those cards. But the rarities go from common, rare, M rare, which is master rare, P rare, which is perfect rare, U rare, which is ultimate rare, but there's also some special ones like PR for promo cards. There's A's for Arsenal Base, LX for Link Stage, UT for Unit Tribe, I believe FQ for the current season of Forsquad. And what those basically are later on in the season, you have the ability to buy from a booster set from the machine. So those are the ones you get from the booster ones, but those aren't typically the general rarity of it. Those are just the special versions from those booster sets. So don't worry about them too much. Just know that U rares are pretty much the strongest version of it. In the middle, number 5, that's just the name of the suit. Nothing special there. Number 6 is probably the most important part. These are the stats you're going to be looking at. So long range, short range. I'm sorry, I can't see it here because it's blocked out by that. Mobility, so the speed basically. Long range, short range, and then the HP. Those 4 stats right there. Those are the most important ones. The higher the value is, the better the suit is at that. So as we can see, this says this is a long-range attacker here at number 3, and you see its long-range attack is 620. That's pretty massive. So again, it has mobility, long range, short range, and then the health of the unit. Health, short range, long range, mobility, all of this, of course, is also combined with the pilot stats, just like the cost is. So these are the base values that will be modified by whatever pilot you put with it. Now going to the reverse side of the card, we have a little bit more information. Number 7 up here, you see the different ground types or different terrain types and the ranking it has here. So you have ground, you have space, you have desert, and you have underwater. So it ranges from lowest is C, then it goes all the way up to S. So C, B, A, and then S. S is the strongest. So if you have a suit like, for example, my Strike Freedom has a rank A in ground type, that means it gets a single buff in its stats when it is playing on the ground type. If it's in space, it has the biggest buff, so it'll have a double buff on it. If it's in the desert, single buff. It's hard to see here, but underwater it has a C, and the C would be a negative debuff on it. So B is average, there's no plus or minus. A is a single buff, S is a double buff, and the C is a single debuff, lowering the stats a bit. Not too much, but you should be aware if you're constructing a team. That's what it means. Again, ground, space, desert, and underwater. I believe the earlier sets did not have desert as a individual ground type on it. So in older cards, you might not see desert on it. I think it was desert it didn't have on it. I can't remember off the top of my head. But there were only 3 in the original ones. Number 8. These are the weapons that the unit has. Typically, they will have 2, a main weapon and a sub-weapon. The thing you want to pay attention to for the weapons, if you want to look that closely on it, again, for the most part, doesn't really matter until you get pretty higher rank. This is the distance value, so the range of the weapon. This is 3 units away, and if you kind of look at the grid, that kind of gives you an idea how far 3 units away from your unit is. 3 units, and the sub-weapon is the close range weapon. That's 1. So those are most important parts here, but it also tells you the main is long range, the sub is short range here, if you couldn't figure that out by the range values themselves. Why this is important is there are some abilities, some attacks that when you get hit, it will disable your main weapon, and you're not able to use that. So Mighty Strike Freedom is a long range attacker. If it is disabled, it's using its short range value. So if you don't have a pilot that also helps buff the short range value, or if your suit doesn't even have a value in the opposite, it might be 2 long range weapons, or it might be a single weapon, you might be in big trouble. So higher level, it's probably worth taking a look at. If you're just starting, probably not. Going down number 9, this is in the yellow here. Again, it's kind of hard to see in this box, but yellow, this is your MS ability. And this you typically will pay for directly from the cost points that you're building up through the game to activate. Some of them do activate automatically. It will explain here. It has This one is an attack, so it's kind of hard to see, but it has a range value here similar to the top. This is a range value of 4, and if you look at the grid, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the yellow. That is the MS ability, which is an attack in this case. Or it could be an attack. I don't know. I didn't even bother reading it. And I'm not going to bother struggling to do that right now as I'm explaining this. And this is how much it costs from your cost gauge to trigger this ability. Sometimes attacks, sometimes it's an ability. This time it doesn't look like it's an ability. It's an attack, but there's too many things in the way, and I'm not going to waste time reading that. But that's the yellow, and you'll see the yellow on the grid to show you where you have to be in order to trigger it. Down below is then your SP, your special attacks. All suits will have at least 1 green special attack, and in the grid you'll see the range or the ability of it there, how far it reaches. And this explains that. Now, this card here might be a little bit confusing because the current season has a new thing called Squad Rush and Squad SP attacks, so they look a little bit busy, but this one has a regular SP attack in green and it has a squad SP attack in pink. And what that means is that normally if you fill up your SP gauge, in this case it costs 2, it says down here SP costs 2, so you need to have 2 units of your SP gauge in the game in order to activate it on this unit. You will do the green attack unless you have Squad Rush activated, and that I will explain in a later video. If Squad Rush is currently activated when your SP comes up, you will instead do your pink attack, which is the second number here. It's a slash here. This also has a range of 4 it has on it, and this explains down below what each of those attacks do. If you can't read Japanese, you'll probably want to use a translation app just to confirm what all your cards do, just so you know to be safe. But they might have, your unit might have, or your MS might have 1 SP attack, or it might have 2. It could have a pink Squad Rush, or it could have a blue United SP attack, which I'll show you an example of in a moment. But just going over here to number 12, it's the grid. Oh, I think I skipped that too, excuse me. Number 12 is the grid, and that kind of shows where you are, the triangle here, and the distance away everything has to be, or how far your abilities will reach. Jumping back up to number 10, sorry I skipped that here, number 10, these are your link abilities. And every unit will have, or every MS and every pilot will have 2 link abilities. The first one is always from the series, whatever series it's from. And again, at the top, you can see it right there. But it also says here, and it will tell you how many of these cards need to be in your deck in order to get this link ability. So if you have 3 cards or more from Gundam Seed Freedom, excuse me, if you have 3 cards from Gundam Seed Freedom, you will activate this ability, which increases the mobility on all the units that have this trait. This has this link ability, Seed Freedom, will go up a little, a small buff on mobility. Everyone is a little bit different, but explains it. Now, there's a second ability. First one is always on each pilot or each unit. It's always going to be the series. The second one is a little bit more unique. They have their own individual names. So this one is GUA no Inori. So if you have 2 or more of this title ability in your deck, then all the units that share this link ability will gain, in this case, an increase to their long range attack, and their HP will go up a small buff. That's a small buff. Again, if you're not sure, if you can't read Japanese, you might want to use translation app. The only difficulty is going to be trying to track down other cards that share this link ability if you're not able to read the kanji, if you're not able to read the Japanese. But I will get into an easy way of doing that in a future video. So please stand by for that if you need that help. And then down below, number 13 is just the card number and also its rarity. And this is going to help if you need to look up the card on the website. So that is a breakdown of a Mobile Suit card. Let's just take a look. Again, this one has a regular SP and it has a Squad SP attack on it. But here's just some examples of, for example, Heine's Destiny Gundam. This does not have anything other than the regular special attack. If you see down here, it has the green only. The blue says Unite SP, but there's nothing in it. There's no data in it. And you see it only has 1 value over here. Even on the grid, it has yellow for its MS ability, and it has green for its SP attack. So this unit only has a single SP attack. So even if you have Squad Rush going, this is not going to trigger anything because it only has this single attack. The G Quarks, on the other hand, this one is a United SP unit. So it has a special attack, or it also has a United SP attack. And what a United SP attack is if you have these units on the field in play at the same time as the main unit, the unit that has this blue United SP attack, then you are able to activate this second, stronger United attack, where whatever units are listed here all team up and attack together. In this case, for the G Quarks, there is only one other unit you need to have on the field on your team at the same time in order to do that. It's the Red Gundam 0085. If you have that in play, same time as this, and you can trigger your SP attack with 2, you will do instead the United SP attack. Typically, it only happens, as it says down here, only 1 time per activation. So the G Quarks would have to be destroyed and then redeployed again in order to activate it a second time. If it just lasts, you get 1 shot of it. So it will then go back to your regular SP attack in that case. But again, just looking at the card real quick, you see a G Quarks. You need to have 3 from the G Quarks to activate this link ability. And then this is the title of the other link ability it has. And you'll need 4 cards to have that. These include pilots as well as mobile suits. Also, on this one, just real quick, it only needs 1 other suit. Some of them need 2 suits, some need 3, some need 4. Check your cards when you have a unit that has a United SP attack. They will tell you which units must be in your deck and on the field at the same time. For example, the 00 units, you need to have all 4 out at the same time if you want to have the 00 Gundam activate the United SP attack, which then boosts and buffs all of them. So moving on, now we're at the pilot cards, which is going to be very similar. So again, number 1 is the cost. This is added to the mobile suit, and that's the total cost to bring out this unit to field. We have the faction icon. We have the type here. Now, this time the type is important. The type is important. This one is red. This is an annihilation unit. Red is annihilation. Senmetsu. It says here. There are 3 types. There's red, blue, and green. I will showcase the other 2 in a moment. But it is more important here than it is in the mobile suit. So when you're building your deck, you want to pay attention here. And I will explain why in a moment. 4, we're back to the rarity, as I explained. 5 again is the title. 6 is the stats that the pilots provide added on to the base stats of the mobile suit that they are attached to. So Kira and Lacus will add this much to Mighty Strike Freedom, for example, if you pair it with Mighty Strike Freedom. On the back, same thing. Taking a look here, the only things we need to really take a look at are number 7. It's a little busy, so I'll show a regular one as well. The squad SP characters in this time with all this pink and that, it looks really busy, but it's pretty much the same thing as a regular character. It has a pilot skill. This is a skill that it is always going to have and is always going to be active, except for these squad rush characters. For the squad rush character, it stipulates here that the squad rush gauge needs to be full, and when it's full, this activates. For regular units that are not these pink SQ units, it'll same thing. It will give you the title of the skill. It will give you the stipulations for how it activates, sometimes on deployment, sometimes when it reaches a certain percentage of health, whatever it may be. And then this is the ability that triggers when this condition right here is met. Then it has link abilities, just like we saw with the Mighty Strike Freedom. But again, because this is a squad rush unit, it's a little bit trickier. So this one has, instead of the series name as one of its link abilities, it has 2 named abilities. So this is special in order to activate Squad Rush. So you need at least 3 units with this ability. So this one says Unmei ni Aragao Ishi. So if you have 3 units with this pink Squad Rush link ability, then you get this. This will activate the Squad Rush gauge that will appear on your screen, and it'll start filling up. Once it activates, then you are able to utilize your Squad Rush ability. But this is also what you get if you have 3 in your deck. So this is the little buff you get, similar to the mobile suit. again, this is maybe a little confusing sounding because the squad rush thing's new this season. It's a little tricky, but it operates under the same principle. You need 3 of this ability, you need 2 of this ability, and you get the buffs that they list here. And then 9 is, again, just the title of the card if you need to look it up online, and the rarity. So let's take a look here. For example, here's a regular one. Pilot skill. This time it's not pink because this is a regular pilot. This is the name of it. And this is, again, in the white bar, just like before, this is what activates it. In this case, it's when this unit is deployed. So when this pilot comes out in the suit, this ability will trigger. So for 20 seconds, it'll get this ability. Then it has their 2 link abilities here. So it will have 2 in the deck, you get this buff. 4 of this in the deck, you get this buff. Same thing. So just looking back real quick, same thing, but the new cards from the season are a little busy. Don't let that distract you. So moving on. So as I said, there are 3 types of pilots. We have the red annihilation units. This is the blue. This is called a suppression unit. So the blue ones are base attackers. And I will get to that again in a second. This is a common card, so you see it's less ornate, but everything is still exactly the same as we saw on the Big U rare card. And the last type of pilot is the defender unit, the Bull A, as it says here, in green. So you're red, blue, and green. So these ones change the behavior of your suits. When you pair a red pilot with a suit, it's going to act differently than if you pair a blue pilot. And that's going to act differently than if you pair a green pilot. And how it is works kind of like rock, scissor, paper. So we have our red annihilation units, we have our green defender units, and we have our blue suppression units. Purple is for your towers and your base in the game. I'll explain that more when we get to the next video. But red units will go and attack other units. So they will lock on to typically the nearest suit, and it will start attacking that unit until that unit is destroyed. There are some exceptions, of course, but that's the main gist. Green units, however, they will not leave the base that you send them to unless you give them orders to go to a different tower or a different base. They will stay there and they provide a defensive buff at that base. It's a massive buff. It truly, truly is. While there is a defender on a tower or on the base, it significantly lowers the damage that that tower and that base takes. But what they do is they stay there and they defend. So they are going to fight whatever unit comes down to attack the tower, attack the base. Typically, again, the first unit that arrives and it targets, it will keep a lock on that target until it's destroyed. Blue units are the suppression units. They are going to ignore the other mobile suits and they are going to charge directly for the nearest tower or the base, whatever is next in its line of movement. And it's going to go all out attacking those while ignoring the mobile suits. And this is where the rock, scissor, paper element comes in. Red units have an advantage, the yellow line, if you follow that. Red units have an advantage fighting against defender units, so they deal more damage. They can shred through the green defenders very fast. Now, the green defenders have an advantage against the blue units, so you want to have your defenders taking out the blue units, which makes sense. They buff the health of the base that they're on, making the suppression units deal almost no damage on their attacks, and they can cut through the blue unit's defenses very, very easily. And you want to do that because if you follow the yellow path, the advantage for a blue unit is fighting against a tower or a base. So if you don't have a defender on your tower and base, blue units are going to do a lot more damage than a red unit would. Now, likewise, there are disadvantages. So the base defending itself, because towers and bases will automatically defend themselves, they are at a disadvantage against the blue units. So they are dealing less damage to blue, which is why it's also very important that you have a defender there to help protect your bases. And blue units are going to have a disadvantage against green units. And you might say, but I thought they only attack bases. I thought they only attack towers. They don't attack units. That's true, but sometimes they have area of effect. If a defender is caught up in the area effect attack, it's going to be debuffed. So they are typically what you want to have if there's a lot of suppression units coming down. And likewise, the defender units have a disadvantage against the red annihilation units. So it is kind of like a rock, scissors, paper sort of affair there of they have advantage and disadvantage in a circle going across. So you want to construct your deck to make the most out of whatever your plan is, utilizing whatever skills your suits have, whatever abilities your pilots have, and that will help you determine the kind of composition you want of red, green, and yellow, or sorry, blue, I don't know where yellow came from, blue units in your deck. Typically for new players, a common strategy is having 2 red, 2 blue, 1 green defender. But as you play around with different units, different pilots, you might find it more effective to switch to maybe a 3-1-1 or even a 0-1, and maybe you have like 3 suppression units and 2 or 3 suppression units, 2 annihilation units, or whatever works out for you. Play around. If you're new to the game, doesn't really matter that much. Rarity, power types, who you're combining with who. The early stages are pretty easy to advance through and get a feel of the game. But as you start leveling up, ranking up, and if you're especially staying in ranked matches, you're going to want to put a little more consideration into how you design your team. So that is it for the first video for how to play Gundam Arsenal Base to this time understand the cards. There's a couple more videos going in that hopefully will explain a little more detail about the other aspects of the game. If you have questions, please leave them below. Sorry that the video is a bit long, but I did want to be a little bit thorough because I know it can be hard for new players in the game, especially visitors, if you do not read or understand Japanese. So hopefully this made a little sense to you and made you understand the cards a bit more. As I said, any questions, put them down below. I'll be happy to help. If you need a follow-up video, I will do that in the future. But I have a couple others for explaining how to play coming down the line, including one on an easy way for how to build a deck, even if you don't really know that much Japanese. So I will have that sometime in the near future, but until then, thank you for watching and good luck in your gaming. See you next time.
バイバイ。誰かさ、楽しかったよ。